Hey y'all, so before I get this video started, let me give a quick shout out. These were the first 3 comments in my last video. If you want to be featured in my next video, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell and come show me some love when I drop a new video. What's up, you guys? It's KeAmber Vaughn, aka CoachKe, coming back to you with another video. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and also tap the bell so that you are notified of every new video that I post. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, it's time to do the September mock budget. If you are new to my channel, my mock budgets actually feature real people's numbers, real people's budgets, and essentially all I do is apply my income allocation budget method that I used to get out of debt and save money while I was getting out of debt, and I apply that to that person's budget. So this particular person this month is a single person with no children. She does live with family, however, she does pay rent. She only has 2 debts right now, her car note as well as her student loans. However, she is in school right now, so some of her student loans will actually be taken care of with her job. So the main thing we're going to focus on right now is making sure that she has money freed up so that she can put as extra debt payments towards her car, and hopefully we can get her out of car debt before she gets out of school. The other important thing to note is that her income is about $3,200 a month, but she does have the opportunity to earn more money doing, I believe she said, home health care, like on-call home health, and that can bring her a substantial amount of money in as extra. So that's pretty good as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I like to do in a budget is calendarize the expenses. And the reason why I like to do that is because I feel like you have to write your budget out in different ways. And this particular way kind of lets you see, okay, here are my paydays. Here are the expenses that should be coming out here. Here is this payday. Here's the expenses that should come out there. And that kind of just gives you a general overall idea. You are going to write out what each expense is and what your paychecks are, but you're not going to really start calculating things on this particular page. It's just for aesthetics, honestly. So her first paycheck of September is going to be September 11th. She gets paid every other Friday. And you guys know, if you watch my videos, that I basically like to start the budget on the first payday that is within that particular calendar month. So her first September paycheck is going to be September 11th. That is when she's going to start. I see people who go from the 1st to the 30th, and while that may be okay for you, if your first paycheck is not till down here, I just think you should always start your budget with a paycheck. So her paycheck is going to be $1,629.01. She said that's pretty much been steady for her. So we're going to put that paycheck here as well. So that means that her budget is going to go from September 11th through the 25th is here, through October 8th, because the first October paycheck is going to be October 9th. Okay, so now let's get a red pen out so we can get these expenses in. On the 4th, she has her phone. And as you guys can see, this is not going to be in this pay period or in this budget. So I'm actually going to go all the way out. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to put that down here. Not PD, that's for payday. Phone. And if you can't see it, it's okay. I'm just writing it down at the bottom. On the 6th is Apple storage, so that's not going to be until this budget down here as well, or this down here. So let's do Apple, and that's going to be 99 cents. On the 8th is car insurance. My car insurance is paid in full until October, but I want to put aside that amount so I can pay the full premium when the time comes. And if you have the ability and it actually saves you money, do that. My car insurance isn't that way, so I just pay it every month. And then now we're getting back up here. So she has Netflix on the 12th. That's going to be $9.65. Then she has a credit card. So her credit card is due on the 13th, but she does not carry a balance. She basically does what I do, where she pays all of her expenses with her credit card to build up points and stuff, I'm pretty sure. And then every payday she pays the balance. So even though her minimum is due here, she never carries a balance. So the minimum doesn't really mean anything. And then on the 18th, she has her gym membership for $23.56. And then on the 28th, she has rent for $300. She says she lives with her family. Her car note is split into 2 payments. In total, she pays $155.42 every other Friday. Or no, in total, she pays $155.42. So every other Friday, she pays $77.71. And she basically pays that on her paydays. So let's do car note for $77.71. And then car notes. And in the months where she gets paid 3 times, she basically pays her car note 3 times. And then I'm going to go ahead and write down her variable expenses real quick as well. That way we don't have to come back to that. Food. Spending. And dates. So she was saying that she has an on-call home care job that she's thinking about picking up hours at. She said about 5 shifts a month, which would bring her an extra $1,700 a month. She only has $3,500 left on her car note, so that's going to be the main focus, because the only other debt she has is about $28,000 in student loans. She's in school for her BSN, so her loans won't be repaid until January 2022. She starts her part-time classes for her BSN this fall. Her job is going to pay for the BSN portion. And if you guys hear any like weird alerts in the background, I'm in the middle of a trading session right now, so I apologize. Okay, so the second way that I like to write the expenses out is on this particular page here. This that I'm using is my actual budget workbook. The information will be down in the description box. It's basically the printable version of the planner that y'all see me use for my own budget. A couple of the pages are a little bit different though. So let's go ahead and write out the fixed expenses on this page. And this is where we write everything out and we actually total up the amount of expenses that we have. So for mortgage or rent, we got $300. And let's see, the car notes. It's gonna be the $155.42. Then we have Netflix for $9.65. The gym, $23.56. And rent we already have. Then cell phone is $34.48. Apple, it's gonna be 99 cents. And then what was that? That was $100. Oh, car insurance. Okay, so let's go ahead and total that up. So add. This app that I'm using is called literally the calculator. A lot of people ask me about it. It's a lot better than the standard calculator that comes on the phone. So we add up the expenses, 100, $155.42, $965, $23.56, and then 99 cents. So the total fixed expenses for her is going to be $624.10, which is not too shabby compared to her income. So with my income allocation method, if you're new to my channel, this is a method that I created myself because while I was in debt, I didn't really like a lot of budgeting methods out there because a lot of them cause for you to only keep a small amount in your savings and not really save throughout your debt freedom journey. And so what was happening was I was having these large amounts of money to put towards my debt, but I didn't have a lot of money in savings, and that didn't really help me psychologically with making those payments. So my debt freedom journey was kind of really off and on. Once I developed this method, I basically was kind of determining ahead of time about how much I'd be able to put towards debt as extra, and I usually save the exact same amount of money, and that helped out a lot psychologically because if I'm making a $500 debt payment and I save $500 at the same time, it was a lot easier to push that button. So with this method, I was able to get out of over $26,000 in debt in 18 months, and I saved $17,000 at the same time. And kind of that gap was just the fact that there were some months where I was like, okay, I'm just going to hone in and not save as much money and, you know, different things like that. So for this, we have to figure out first what the projected income is. So I'm just going to take her 2 paychecks there. So her projected income is $32.5802. I always say to if you're somebody who like works overtime and stuff like that, just go based off of your base pay with no overtime. You want to underestimate your income and overestimate your expenses. And the reason why is because if I can take this is my underestimated income, and then this is my overestimated expenses. When I earn more and I spend less, that gives me even extra money to be able to put off into savings and extra debt payments. So after we figure out the income, and hers is pretty standard, so I'm okay with her using this number, we're going to subtract her fixed expenses, which again was $624.10. The reason why we do that is because I'm someone who believes that credit is important. So I don't like missing payments. And I feel like when people have their bills paid, they're a little less stressed out. Like you're less stressed out trying to find $20 to eat than you are trying to find $20 to pay this bill so that you don't get a late payment and it goes on your credit and stuff like that. I don't care what anybody tells you, credit is important. Okay, it is. So after we pay our bills, this is how much the net income got left to cover our variable expenses, which is gas, groceries, everything like that. We also, from this amount, are going to take how much we have as extra debt payments, because remember the minimums were already taken care of over here in the fixed expenses. And then we also have some money that we can save with. Okay. So I like to look at my budget. I'm a meticulous, advanced math type of person. When things are too simple, it just makes me go crazy. So I like to think about my budget in thirds. How much of this money am I going to need to cover my variable expenses? How much of this money am I going to need for my extra debt payments here? And then how much am I going to have left over to be able to save with? Okay. So to figure that out, we have to first write everything out. So I've already done so. So I'm just going to transfer the information. We got $100 for gas every month. For food, I'm going to put, I'm sorry, this is 200. Gas is 100. Spending, I'm just going to put that as shopping, is 200. And then dates. She says she usually doesn't spend money on dates. Her man does 99% of the time, but she likes to throw in, you know, a little something every now and then. So the total we have for that, we got 200, 100, 200, and 100. So that should be 600. So out of this $2633.92, that's her net income. She only needs 600 for variable expenses. The question is, what percentage of her income, the net income, is that? In order to find that out, all you're going to do is divide this by the net income. And typically you really want this number to be, honestly, 60% or less, but I'll take 70%. 70% is the absolute highest. If the percentage of your net income that you need to cover your variable expenses is over 70% and you're still in debt, you are going to have to increase your income or decrease your expenses, period, because it's going to take you way too long to get out of debt. You want to get this out the way. Make some sacrifices now, because trust me, when you are debt free, life is easier. I've been debt free for almost 2.5 years now. Life is so simple. So she only needs 22%. When you get this number, you're going to move the decimal over 2 times. So she only needs about 22 to 23% to cover her variable expenses. However, when you are still in debt, I always tell you to round up to the nearest 10%, because we typically, when we're in debt, we make a lot of errors when it comes to our budget. We tend to overspend quite a bit. Because you kind of have those times where it's like, damn, I'm spending all this time and all this money paying off debt. I want to spend a little extra on myself. It happens. Trust me. So we're going to go up to the nearest 10%, which is going to be 30%. But because of that, the amount that we have to budget is going to be higher than 600, because we just went from 22% all the way up to 30%. So I'm going to take this net income and multiply that by the 30%. So she's going to have about $790 to cover her variable expenses. So that's giving her almost an extra $200 for overspending, just in case. Does she have to spend it? No, she doesn't. So now we go to the savings and debt portion. What I always say is, whatever your leftover amount is, split it in half. Literally, whatever you are sending as extra debt payments should also be sent as savings. Trust me, it's a psychological thing. So because she had 30% for her checking, she has 70% left over. So she's actually going to send 35% of her expenses, or not expenses, her net income to savings, and 35% towards her debt. So this number here, if we take the $2633.92, that is the net income, I'm going to subtract the $790.17 that she needed for her checking, and I'm actually going to go up to 18 right here, because that's going to give me a round number to be able to split in half. So this is what's left over after her variable expenses. We're just going to divide that in half. So she should be able to send $921.87 to savings and $921.87 to debt. So usually I don't have this information, but I do have this for her. So I'm just going to do this part really, really quick. Student loans. So I don't know her starting balance. However, I'm going to basically put what her starting balance is for the month, which I do know, because that is what's supposed to be here. $3573.28. Student loans is $28,605.02. I don't know what the minimum payments are, which is fine, but what she actually needs to do is pay her minimum here this month, and all of this that is extra is going to go towards her car payment. Her goal is to have this paid off by the end of the year, and she should be able to do this because she still has 4 months left: September, October, November, December. This times 4 is $3,600. And plus, remember, her regular payments comes out of that too. So I would definitely put all of your extra debt payments towards your car note until it's gone. Okay, so the next thing that I like to do is pre-plan the budget, and then at the end, I'm actually going to show you exactly what you need to do on each payday, how much needs to get sent where and everything like that. So let's do the budget pre-plan really quick. So paycheck 1 is going to be on 9/11. So this is another way that I like to figure out the income versus the expenses. And this one is kind of like the most important one, honestly, because at this point, what I'm going to be doing is taking out each bill that's coming out of each paycheck so we can see about how much she has left over after expenses for each pay cycle. So the first thing we have is the car note. That's going to be $77.71. We got Netflix for $9.65. The gym for $23.56. And then we're going to have the budgeted expenses, which we only needed $600. So even though I'm giving her this extra amount, when I actually do the pre-plan, I'm only going based off of what she actually needed, which was $600. Even though in her actual budget, she's going to have more than that. So this is like the minimum expenses. So she's only going to need $300 for each pay cycle. The next cycle is going to be her car note again for $77.71. And then we have rent for $300. Phone for $34.48. Apple. Storage for 99 cents. And then we have the car insurance for $100. And again, the budgeted expenses for $300. Pulling out my calculator again. Minus 77.71. I done messed up the number every time I done said it. So $15.51.30. So I like the budget, like the paycheck to paycheck budget pre-plans like this, because a lot of times people have an issue with trying to figure out why they're always short, like in one part of the month, but then a different part of the month they feel okay. And typically the reason is because if you would write out your paychecks in conjunction with what bills actually come out, including your variable expenses, you would see that maybe you're a little top heavy on one paycheck compared to another. That used to happen to me quite often. So what I literally ended up doing was changing my pay dates of certain bills. And as long as you're somebody who typically pays your bills on time, they have no problem whatsoever changing your pay dates. And even if you're somebody who struggles, they typically don't mind changing your pay date to something else, you know, and usually you could change it like every couple of months. And the reason why they're okay with changing it is because if you let them know, listen, I'm struggling right now, and if I move this pay date to here, I would have literally no problem paying my bills. They want their money, so they would be absolutely okay. Minus 100. That was an alert coming across my screen. And then we have 300 out. So she's not negative on any of her paychecks, and she's fortunate enough to not have a lot of expenses. So this is a really good budget for her, especially for her to be able to get out of debt and stuff significantly before she like moves out on her own and everything. But you can see that she is a lot tighter on this paycheck than she is on this one. So she might feel like she's tighter, I guess, but she's not. She doesn't have a tight budget at all. Okay, so we don't need this page here. So now we are going to plan her leftover income, and then we'll do the weekly allocations page so I can show her exactly what to do on each paycheck. So the leftover per paycheck, paycheck 1 was $12.18.09. Paycheck 2 was $8.15.83. There's nothing there. And even if she starts working that extra job, I still wouldn't count that as income because that is something that's extra and she can pick up those hours. So even if she's consistently picking up on that second job, I still will only do my budget based off of the normal income, and then whatever is extra that comes in is just kind of a bonus. So she has $2,033.92 left over. And because whatever's left over, we're splitting in half between savings and debt. Literally, she should actually end up, if she sticks to this budget, because remember I gave her an extra almost $200 for spending for just in case, but if she actually sticks to the budget of $600 or less for her variable expenses, and you know, these are just her fixed expenses, this should be what she has left over for savings, and this should be her extra debt payments, which is not too shabby. So you can put this and start building your mini emergency fund. Once you get that to $3,000, then you want to start building out your true emergency fund, which is 6 months of expenses. And when you don't have a lot of expenses like me, I just say to shoot for $9,000, $9,000 to $12,000. That's a pretty good amount. And then of course that's going to go towards debt. So let me show you what you should do on each payday. So the fixed expense amount was it $624.10? That's how much she has to earn before, that's how much she has to earn to cover all of her fixed expenses. Then the checking was 30, 35, 35. So when she gets paid on her first paycheck, she has already earned enough money to cover her fixed expenses, okay? There's only one time where the math is a little bit difficult, but when you master math, you can master your money, because money is math, addition, subtraction, okay? So when she gets paid here, she has enough to cover her fixed expenses. What she has left over here is what is going to be split: 30 for checking, 35 for savings, 35 for debt. Why do we split it after? Well, remember I said I care about you covering your fixed expenses first. So out of this, she's going to keep $301.47 in her checking for her everyday expenses, because we already took care of fixed. Now we have to start taking care of the $600 of variable expenses. So that's going to leave me with $703.44. Remember, we need an even amount so we can split it half and half. So $351.72 here and $351.72 here. If she, let's say that her fixed expenses were $1,700, then she would literally keep everything in her checking, because she didn't earn enough to cover her fixed expenses if her fixed expenses were $1,700, but she has earned enough. So in savings, I'm going to go ahead and put the $351.72. Now for me, when I'm doing my budget and I was still in debt and stuff, I literally sent this immediately. So when you get paid on September 11th, immediately send this off to your car note, like immediately. And for me, like, I didn't care if this allocation was $11.73. I called in that extra $11.73. And you want to make sure that when you do this, you tell them that you want it to be principal only. Now, because so they should be able to put all of this towards the principal. They might not put the whole thing, only because you do pay your car note bi-weekly. So just check, but I put everything extra towards principal, period. And the way that my car note company or whatever, the company used to do it was they would tell me that everything was applied to my principal, but then it actually wasn't, and I had to call it back in so that they could readjust it. And then I would send this off to savings immediately. So what goes in the checking box is not just this $301.47, but also what we had to keep in our checking for our fixed expenses. And that's going to get $925.57. Now you're still going to pay your bills as you normally do on the day that they're due. And what I'm doing right now is just adding, going across in these boxes, and that should equal the paycheck. That's how you know that these numbers are correct. These three across should equal your paycheck here. So on paycheck 2, the math is easy, because once you start allocating once, you're going to allocate for the rest of the month. I don't care if your grandma gave you $20. Allocate it, put it in your bank account and allocate it 30, 35, 35. Okay, so we got 488. I'm going to go up to 71 so that what I have left over is an equal number or even number. Minus 488.71. This is what's left over. I'm going to divide that in half. So on your second paycheck, send $570.15 to savings immediately. And then you're going to send $570.15 off to your car note as an extra payment again. Now, I don't know where that just cut off at, but you want to have a foundation, a base, some people call it a buffer, of 2 to 3 times your monthly expenses. Okay? For me, $4,000 was just a good number. So when you make a little bit more money, spend a little bit less, you're always going to end up with an extra amount of money in your checking account. Once by the end of the month, you have at least whatever the buffer amount you came up with. So let's say the buffer amount that you came up with is $2,000, right? And at the end of your budget, your account is at, let's say, $2,250. If you are still in debt, what you're going to do is you're going to take this $250, because you want to start your account at $2,000. At the beginning of your next budget, you're going to take this extra $250, and you can do it one of 2 ways. Because you've already split your extra income or leftover income half and half, you can either split this half and go $125 extra to savings and $125 extra to debt, or you can say, you know what, I saved a good amount of money. Let me take this whole $250 and put the whole thing towards debt. Doesn't matter. Just reset yourself down to $2,000 if that's the number you come up with. So either way is fine. The other thing that I always say is that if you don't have the buffer in your account just yet, and you feel comfortable enough, the amount of money that you're sending off to savings, you can actually keep in your account as a buffer to build up your buffer first. It kind of just depends on you. I say send that money to savings, and then whatever is left over at the end of your budget, you can just allow that to accumulate over time, because having that money off to savings is a lot more important for a lot of people, because some people, when that money is sitting in their checking account, they spend it. So it's up to you. But that is the budget, the mock budget for September. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to leave them down below. I should be in the live chat right now. So if you guys don't mind, you can always watch this video and open up the live chat so that you guys can see the questions that other people have asked thus far. But if you have questions that have not been answered, feel free to leave them down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.